didn't mean to hit the button just yet. Even though I'm a little late, I didn't mean to hit that button just yet. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. Okay, well, I might as well just go ahead and get started with something. Here we go. Here we go. Greater light. Greater light. Greater light. Greater light. Oh, man. Let's get ready to rumble. Get over here. Get over here. Over here. Oh, greater light. What is today? What's the day of the week? It's Friday or Saturday. It's 12 days in a week. It's 12 days in a week according to the original. 12 days in a week. But if we want to go by their calendar, let's go by their calendar. Their calendar say it's Friday. No, that's cashew. Cash. Greater light. Let me start this off right. My mind is God's mind. I'm always reflecting divine wisdom and divine intelligence. My brain symbolizes the capacity to think wisely and spiritually. God's ideas unfold within my mind in perfect sequence. I'm always poised, balanced, serene, and calm because I know God has provided the perfect solution to every single one of my needs before the foundations of this realm, of this plane, of this dimension, before the foundations of my mother's womb that he so perfectly, strategically weave and wove so that I can fit in there just right. This flesh. Because I didn't enter this flesh till it was about 4 or 5 years old. And when they left me behind, when those 3 light beings left me behind, I started whimpering and crying. I didn't want to get left behind. I didn't want to be left here. But so be it. God is going to keep his promise. He's coming back for the chosen ones. And you have the right to the tree of life. You have the right. Give me a right to the tree of life. Your name could be written. My grandmother said they always had paper. She didn't know nothing about cars. But they had paper, something to write on. Give me a right to the tree of life, right on the tree of life, Greater light, greater light. I am so excited to be here today, So, whatever they holy day they got coming up, right? If you memorializing the ones you love on a daily basis. You don't have to wait for a man to write something to tell you to memorialize and think about those who are so close to you, right? But when I realized that they memorial ain't what the memorial, what you think you celebrating, they put it out before the celebration to let you know what you really celebrating. They Mary Marys while you bugging. They Mary laws. Memorial Day, Mary and Martha, Oh, Mary, oh, Martha. My stepfather, I'm going to memorialize and think about him today and talk about him today. Just a little bit, not long. He used to sing this song to us too. He always sang. When they shot him out of the air in Vietnam, and that bazooka went through his body and all, and he survived that. He found his way to help raise me. And he was very talented. He can sing. He was a mathematician. Not only was he an airman, and then ended up being a chef because he couldn't function in the stance that he went into the military in. He not just being an airman in the physical realm, just by his name, he's a Aquaman. Agua is in his name. His name resides with agua. So he was an airman and a seaman. And he used to sing so many. He could sing. I'm talking about Smokey Robinson and them ain't had nothing on my daddy. Women would gather all in Coconut Grove just to hear my daddy sing on the park. That's when he wasn't doing his carpentry. So he was an airman, a seaman, and a carpenter. Carpentry, a mason, and an electrician, He was a jack of all trades, and he had Jack on his arm, and he had Hawk on the other side. I'm not making this up. I'm not exaggerating. That's the steps that I came out of. Right. And because he raised me, I was supposed to name my son after and have my son with the Agua name, and I didn't. But that's, I don't want to go down the sad journeys. I don't want to go down those journeys. I just want to, that song about their holiday or their holy day that they're serving, and they're putting it and making you go and barbecue and cut up flesh and don't even know what you celebrating under their maritime laws. All you doing is reigniting their maritime laws that got you trapped under a maritime law in the first place. Time shall be no more. But he used to sing, oh, Mary, oh, Martha, oh, Mary, just a ringing that bell. I should look for it. I should look for the song, and he'll tap his head, hit his leg, and do this beat here. Angels just a rocking in Jerusalem. Angels just a ringing that bell. Church getting higher, rocking in Jerusalem. Church getting higher, just a ringing that bell. I can't sing it in the tone he used to sing it. But that's the thought for today. I'm gonna go into Federal Register. That song came to mind when I saw Federal Register. And when the young lady bought my order, I tend to fall in line with certain things just to see where people are at. And I said, I don't know if you celebrate their holy days. I don't celebrate their holy days because every day is about love and light. Every day is a holy day according to love and light. And she said, that's right. You know, when she said that, I got so happy. She said, that's right. That's what I be telling my children. She said, if they would remove all these calendar dates, you wouldn't be, and you just live right. You wouldn't have to be. And she was a ginger snap, too. She had pretty, curly, wavy hair, but her tone was just as bright as that church back there. She said, that's right. I got so much to talk about today. Here's another memorial testimony. So I was going to wear this handkerchief, right? I was going to wear this handkerchief. And I wasn't thinking about the person that gave it to me. I was just going to wear it. And then I looked at it again and I was like, oh, yes. Let me tell you a story about this lady. She was a cornerstone in Fort Valley. She is a cornerstone in that Department of Education in Fort Valley. And when she was transitioning, I told this story before. When she was transitioning, she wanted me to be an heir to her, all that she had left with her son. She wanted me to be an heir. Now, her adopted son, he wasn't even having it. I didn't care. It wasn't about him. Me, that's not what I was in her life for. And I knew I wasn't in her life for it. I wasn't in her life for the material things that she left or was trying to leave, that she knows she had worked so hard for, her and her husband, all them years. And she wanted to make sure it didn't just go to waste. And I turned her down. She didn't come to me just one time. I mean, she had so much jewelry, multiple cars, and a house as a cornerstone and a foundation in Fort Valley. And I didn't want it. But I wanted to be there for her as the brain tumor that they kept trying to remove and take and get a handle on was growing and coming back. And I wanted to be there for that. So one day she was going through her stuff and doing it again. But it was clothes. And she said, now you better dare not tell me no on some clothes, huh? That I done had for years and wearing, and you gonna turn down my hand-me-downs. I said, no, ma'am, I'm not. And out of the stuff she gave me, it was things like this. And I didn't get rid of it. Like this handkerchief. So a memorial to Miss Rump. Huh? I'm thinking about her right now. Everybody know I'm always thinking about my son every day. But it was something about when I picked up this handkerchief and said that I was going to wear it. You know, I just was in my, and everything is for a reason. To everything, there's a season and a reason and a time for every purpose under the heaven. Because when she gave me this handkerchief, I never looked at it and read it and looked at the design. And she gave me another handkerchief that had my son's initials on it, and she didn't know it. I think my daughter still have that handkerchief. So today I decided to look at the writing on this handkerchief as it came to me when I said, wow, this came from Miss Rump, a cornerstone. She was a cornerstone. If you go to Fort Valley and go to the schools or go anywhere in Fort Valley and ask about Miss Rump, everybody knows Miss Rump. She had it all set and ready. Here, baby, I want you to have one of the cars. I want your name on this house and this property. And I said, no, ma'am. I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that. So now I'm going to take you into the what's written on this handkerchief. And it is, again, we know there's no coincidences with God, but there's a order of things. So here we go. Let me get the glasses ready. Let me get who's here with me hiding in the bushes. Somebody hiding in the bushes don't want to put nothing in the chat. You bring out the best in me. Before I get started with that, here, let me show y'all about their little national holy day. Yeah, let me go to Federal Register and show y'all what the president wanted to remind y'all this day is about. Here we go. View and stream, yo. Hey, now see that? I didn't click that. So one of the government officials in here, because I didn't click my background music. Here we go. Let me share this. See this? This day is National Maritime Day. That means the celebration that's going on for Monday is exactly what day is about. Oh, Mary, oh, Martha, oh, Maureen, and all just a ringing them bells. Now, if you was with me yesterday when I was reading out the Biblia in Innocentium, and I showed you how you need to go ahead and study to show thyself approved properly to know that you don't come from either Esau or Jacob. If you claim in the line of Abraham and Sarah and Esau and Jacob, either or, you need to take and put the love and light code of Christ on top of that so you'll be all right. Because when they celebrate and they Mary and they Martha, they celebrating it based on Esau and Jacob. They not celebrating it based on Hagar. See, Abraham was in a land that didn't belong to him. Sarah got buried in a land that didn't belong to them. He knew that he was different and differently made. He didn't have a direct connection with God. It was already written. It said it throughout the Bible. You could see it. But God did make a promise to him because he tried to live right. Now that line and Solomon and all them messed it all the way up, but God, Jesus came so that everybody would have the opportunity and the right to the tree of life. But these maritime and these holy days and all these secular days that they have here, you're not supposed to be celebrating them, especially if you don't know what they are founded under and about. Now, let me go ahead and read this National Maritime Day. And this National Maritime Law goes back as far as Abraham. A proclamation. Our nation's merchant mariners embody. There they go. They have to use the word embody automatically. Because it's their skins that determine who they is. Look, already I see the word sacrifice. Our nation merchant mariners embody the highest aspirations of our democracy, always answering our country's call. How they say it's their country. This land is your land. This land is my land, huh? Mm-hmm. highest aspirations of our democracy, demon in the crazy. Always answering our country's call with the commitment. Commitment is something they do when they put you in a psychiatric, a mental health facility. And courage. Rage is in their cows, C-O-U. Today, we honor their service and sacrifice. They always have to find a way to make a sacrifice, and then they want to blame it on God, just like Abraham did. God never told him to go do nothing and sacrifice nothing. Whatever voices Abraham was hearing and dealing with, the angel had to be the one to come to tell him to stop. Because if it was God that told him to do it, God would have told him to stop it. He didn't have no direct connection with God. And it shows that each time, then he gonna lie when he write the scripts. That's why they say it's based on a true story. When he wrote the scripts and wrote and left behind his story, he gonna lie and say God told him to do it. But then he made a mistake and told the truth and said, well, an angel came and stopped him and told him not to lay a hand on his disabled child. He knew it was something wrong with his child. That's why he was willing to go up there and sacrifice him. It was something wrong with his child. That's why all of their years, he couldn't find him a wife. The land that they was in with the holy, righteous people that was already living on the land, that they knew, that he knew that he's a stranger in the land. That's why he had to pay to get a place to bury his wife, Sarah. But when Sarah died, their son still couldn't find a wife for whatever was wrong with him. That's why when Rebecca pulled up, out of all the people that was out there, she was like, what's wrong? Who is that right there? That's the man you finna marry. You know what she did? Huh? You know what she did? Huh? She was like, oh my goodness. So I'm just saying, study to know. No, you better study. Find out about your blood type and all. Stop claiming things because, see, you were created before the foundations. If you claiming that you to this land when Gog and Magog finally settled and spread everything out on the table, and you left behind, that's why those that are going to be left behind, there are those who are going to suffer in the Left Behind series. Because they say in these writings that they will be hostile to those of light. I'm just saying, it's written. Let me finish reading about their married time. Mary, Mary, why you bugging? Together we commit to meeting our sacred, see how they threw the word sacred in there? Obligation to care for them and their families. Unbreaking and unbending in their devotion to duty. The few, the proud, the few, the proud. Unbreaking and unbending in their devotion to duty, our merchant mariners have stood for our nation's freedom, liberty throughout history. From delivering critical goods and troops to the battles of World War II, to responding to devastating natural disasters through the world and shipping goods and military cargo that keep our nation safe and prosperous. See the flim flam skim scam. If the government wasn't creating these simulations of war, there would be no need for war. Responding to devastating natural disasters around the world and shipping goods and military cargo that keep our nation safe and prosperous. What is so everybody living in prosperity today, this day on this land? All since World War II. It's still ghettos and hoods and trailer parks and all. More homeless people in the community than there are people with homes and houses. Tell me what you talking about? Where is the nation safe and prosperous? I thought the nation ain't safe and prosperous. That's why there's a continuous war. Today, our merchant, the mer and the mayor. See there? The mer and the mayor. The merchant mariners are continuing this legacy of service. Y'all know what comes behind the word legacy. Delivering humanitarian aid to people. Who are the people? In need and transporting military equipment around the world. At the same time, merchant mariners are engines of our economy. Engine number 9, huh? They facilitate international trade and strengthen our supply chains by transporting billions of dollars of goods across oceans, seas, and waterways to the hands of American businesses and consumers. You mean they go across the sea to the Americans? You see what they just said? Now, if you ain't checked this one right here, whoever's prosperous and safe, based on the merchant and the mariners, they leave from over here and take billions of dollars of goods across the ocean, seas, and waterways to the hands of American businesses and consumers. That's across the waterways, meaning that's the reason why we are not prosperous and safe over here. Our merchant mariners have always met the moment. In my administration, he's talking about the Ka critical demon goddess. I won't even call her goddess on top of that. Demon Kamala Harris, him and his administration. Abomination. And the Clintons. Huh? The king and queen of what do you call it? Immorality. You should have known something was wrong with Hillary when she signed on to Luther talking about see her with her Daisy Dukes. And she let that ride. Just like Kamala Harris with Luther Campbell. Huh? He was one of her main supporters. He rode with her on buses. Huh? That's that administration. I just want to clarify what the administration is. That is why we are insured. Let me tell y'all something. They asked me for my new position if I can be unbiased. And I can. Because when I get over here, I'm safe and prosperous. They say I'm safe and prosperous. So since I'm safe and prosperous, according to his maritime document there, I'm safe to say and express how I feel. Freedom of speech, freedom of character and all. I don't have to worry when I hear them talking about IP addresses and threats and stuff like that. I don't have to worry about stuff like that when they be coming up and saying stuff like that. That's what made me leave from over to one of my favorite spots just a minute ago. When it's my time, it's my time. When my time up, my time up. Huh? I ain't worried about it. I ain't worried about a thing. I'm supposed to keep on talking to all the world in this generation, especially with it being the last days, huh? Don McRon. Oh, you took and put on that them ends in the Germanic dialect, huh? Okay. Okay. All right. I see you. I see you. I see you. Let me continue. Our merchant mariners have always met the moment. Give me one moment in time. No more time. No more maritime laws. Maritime laws. I can't wait for God to come on where time will be no more. And my administration will always have their backs. That is why we are ensuring the ships traveling between the United States and ports of American built, American owned, and American crewed by enforcing the Jones Act. Oh, there go Mr. Jones. Me and Mr. Jones. They enforcing the Jones Act. I don't know what the Jones Act is. Let me ask Bing. Now, y'all see I haven't been communicating that much with artificial intelligence lately. I haven't been. There's some things been going on with my IP address that is just like throwing me off. It's like it is what it is. But here we go. Explain the Jones Act. And I always ask to break it down in layman's terms. The layman's. Huh? For a simple mind like mine. The Jones Act, also known as the Merchant Marine Act of 1920, is a federal law that governs maritime commerce in the United States. Here's a simple breakdown of what it does. Ships and crews. Cruising. The act requires that the goods shipped between the U.S. ports must be carried on ships that are built, owned, and operated by U.S. citizens or permanent residents. What? Okay. That's okay. The act requires that goods shipped between U.S. ports must be carried on ships that are built, owned, and operated by U.S. citizens and permanent residents. Mm-hmm. Oh, I see a loophole in that law right there. Right now, if they go and pull out everybody that built the ship and helped build the ship, if they were illegal immigrants, those ships could be shut down right now. Huh? Those ships could, since we want to go with immigration laws and stuff. Huh? I'm saying this Jones Act, they want to go to the Jones Act. Uh-oh. I'm just saying. It says the act requires that goods shipped between U.S. ports must be carried on ships that are built, owned, and operated by U.S. citizens or permanent residents. I wonder where those cruise ships and stuff be built at. I'm thinking, I'm wondering. Protectionism. It's a form of protectionism policy, which means it's designed to protect U.S. shipping interests from foreign competition. Cost implications. Because of the act, shipping goods between U.S. ports can be more expensive as it limits the market to U.S. Flagged ships. What flag are you representing, huh? National security. The act was originally passed to ensure that U.S. had a strong merchant marine fleet for national security and economic reasons and waivers in certain situations like natural disasters. See, that's why they're bringing this up. Like natural disasters, the act can be temporarily waived to allow foreign there it is. There's the reason for this. Anything Biden does, especially when he start talking about sacred, embodied, words like embodied, sacred, and sacrifice, it's always something. There's always a catch with the Biden, Obama-nation, Clinton, Kaka, Kamala, Cali, Demon, Ballot Foundation. There's always a catch. And there's the catch right there. There's the catch in the midst of the war. Let's make this a National Maritime Day. I don't know how many times they have celebrated it. But here's the loophole. In certain situations like natural disasters, they're already predicting. Now, we know the winds have shifted. But they finna try to get the winds to shift on back this way. Talking about the hurricane season going to be the worst ever. And that Florida need to gear up. Let's see if Mind Over Matter can change that they put out there. Because they looking forward to all the ports to be messed up. That's why Francis Scott Key Bridge got knocked down. That's why they got yesterday, if anybody was over here with me, I got ready to go over the safety zone. And I said I didn't want to deal with the safety zone for the stuff that I was looking at. And I saw something about South Carolina's port. I saw something else, another port under the safety zone. Anytime they do these safety zone extended Federal Register documents, that's a sure sign that something like the Francis Scott Key, when the Francis Scott Key Bridge got knocked down in January, they had a document about the safety zone, the length of the safety zone, how many miles of the safety zone they was going to need for this event that was going to take place. Now they got it going on again. So here's where the Jones Act comes. So if they have to use other ships coming back into the port from other countries, this is where it's going to be all right. So in certain situations like natural disasters, the act can be temporarily waived to allow foreign ships to transport goods to affected areas in the U.S. There it is. That's what this Federal Register National Maritime that everybody is celebrating a memorial for is about. Here, let me click back on it. So that's the Jones Act. So unbreaking and unbending in their devotion to duty, our merchant mariners have stood for our nation's freedom and liberty throughout the history. I read that part. Let me see. Okay. Our merchant mariners have always met the moment, and my administration will always have their back. That is why we're ensuring that ships traveling between the United States ports are American built, American owned, American crewed, and enforced by enforcing the Jones Act. This will not only support the American shipbuilding, but also support the good union's job. But they're not saying just in case of we have a waiver inside this Jones Act. That's why he had to make sure stick it in there. Meanwhile, thank you for your service. For those mariners who don't know that this is a spiritual battle, those who may not be aware that this is also a spiritual realm. When you go to sleep at night and dream about you tossing to and fro on the ship and all that, that's your spirituality dealing with you. But some of you are not aware that this is a spiritual battle. So don't think, for those who live in the flesh, that I'm saying, anything to a mariner, huh? Anything negative, huh? Because according to my grandmother, my grandfather, on the Smith line, and his grandfather were merchants, mariners. They had they were contractors on ships. Okay. Now, just because my bloodline and people that I know worked in around these events and these worldly simulations doesn't mean that I'm in total agreement with them either. So this is just a disclaimer. This will not only support American shipbuilding, but will also support good union jobs. Meanwhile, we have made historic investments in our nation's infrastructure, including rebuilding our ports so that they are safer, cleaner. See, here's where the infrastructure and the disasters that happen at each port that need to be rebuilt is about to happen. Those safety zone laws that I didn't want to go over yesterday, but they're slowly going ahead and rebuilding according to what they need. This is where he's throwing that in. Let you know, don't say we didn't tell you. But we rebuilding them. Now, how they gonna rebuild them if they don't go through demolition? If they don't if the ports don't incur demolition, how do they rebuild them? And it's more, would seem more feasible that if a natural disaster or an accident happens, then the Jones Act comes into effect. Anyways, I'm not going to spend too much more time on this. Let me finish reading. Meanwhile, we have made historic investments in our nation's infrastructure, including rebuilding our ports so that they are safer, cleaner, and easier and more affordable to move through. We also recognize that our merchant marinas are the strongest when they reflect the full diversity of our nation. My budget proposes $191 million for the United States Merchant Marine Academy to educate and train the next generation of seagoing officers and maritime leaders. Additionally, my administration established every marina builds a respectful culture, stands to prevent sexual assault and harassment, and to support survivors. Look at this. Show me where that comes in. Is this meaning that as long as you are a few and the proud and the Marine, you don't have to worry about being sexually assaulted? You don't have to worry about being harassed? You can get on YouTube and say that you're a Marine, and that you don't have to worry about repercussions or anything? Is that what that means? I don't know. That's what it looked like. I'm just saying. I wonder if my daughter, because that's where my daughter wanted to go. She wanted to be a Marine. She did. And it wasn't nothing about her test scores or anything that would have prevented her from being a Marine. It was the tattoos that she had already. Additionally, my administration established every mariner builds a respectful culture standards to prevent sexual assault and harassment and to support survivors. But it seemed like a lot of the mariners are the ones who do the harassing. I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm going to leave that alone. That just seemed out of place. This right here, this little phrase right here seems out of place. Even the part with culture seems out of place. Diversity, culture, and these terms right here seem out of this sentence, this paragraph just seems so out of place. But let me continue. Today, as we honor all of the merchant mariners who have done for our nation, we also recognize the mariners who have made ultimate sacrifice for our nation. So now you know there's a difference between the merchants and the military part of the mariners. That's why there's the Mer and the Mars, Marys and the Marthas. Oh, Mary, oh, Martha. They work together, but they still are separate. The merchants are the ones who are wealthy. The Marines, they're the military slaves. Unless they learn to trade and become a Mary or merchant. We recognize the mariners who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. We owe these fallen heroes a debt of gratitude we can never fully repay. So this isn't just, this information is a memorial, see? And they're not speaking to the mariners that are alive. They're speaking to the ones that are upcoming. They're not speaking to the ones that are working. They're speaking to the ones that are upcoming and the ones who have fallen. We owe these fallen heroes a debt of gratitude we can never fully repay. Why they can't be fully repaid if you got merchants out there and all this 191 million and more money, the more, huh? The Mary and the Moors, I don't know. It's always something with ballot Biden them. But our nation will never forget their legacy and that of every mariner who has dared all, risked all, and given all for our nation. They get it all and never, this is what I was talking about yesterday. When they say they forgiven your debts, see, here goes the word debt. They forgiven your debt, but then you don't never get fully paid back. See that? Am I right? Hey, did he just say it here? See, that God always sends confirmation to stuff that I'm saying, so it don't. Some people think I sound crazy, huh? Some people think I go to the extreme, but he always sends a confirmation to things that I say, so it can be clear. If it ain't clear for you, it's clear for me, huh? They risked it all, and their debts was paid, but they never fully could repay after they forgave them for their debts. They forgave them for their debts, but they didn't fully repay it. The Congress, by joint resolution, approved May 20th, 1933, has designated May 22nd of each year as National Maritime Day. And to commemorate the first transoceanic voyage by a steamship in 1819 by the SS Savannah. See there? I told you. Do you know what you celebrating? Do you know what your Memorial Day is about? Do you comprehend that when you're out there barbecuing and when you out there, eating your baby backs, that not only on a spiritual level, but you are celebrating a steamship that came in 1819 through the SS Savannah. Now, if you go back into what they have in history about them boats that came in on 1819 through the port of Savannah, their commemoration of it is that there was slaves on their ship. Even though we, let's say in proper respect to those who rightly divide the word of truth and have real overstanding and understanding in a realm of let's see, virtual technology, commemorating an augmented reality that says slavery existed and replaying it into the system is a sure way of keeping you in that grid of the system. And to keep you in the grid of that system and on the algorithm of the system that is placed here in this document that is a federal law, what you call it, a United States document for history to repeat time and time again. They have to get you to celebrate it, to memorialize it, to keep it in your memory, even though you don't know that their holy day and their celebration goes beyond the 1819. And it is as a spiritual wheel that continues to float on the waves of this augmented, agitated reality. Let's just get them to barbecue and play in the water. As long as they can barbecue, dress up, and play in the water, they won't realize that they're memorializing what we have captured in a system of virtual reality. But let me tell you one thing. If you put on the love and light code and follow the blueprint that Christ left, there's a reason why following Christ is anti-Semitic. There's a reason why religion is a problem when it comes to Christ. All the other religions is no problem, but when it comes to Christ, there's a problem. Because the blueprint that he left says, be careful about these holy days. Don't let them tell you it's wrong for you to decide you don't want to eat their ribs and you don't want to eat no pork, and you don't want to make sacrifices, And if you take on the knowledge that it's in the blood, it's my blood, your blood, it's our blood, because you're a reflection of God. And the code is in your blood, it's in your DNA. If you eat the knowledge that is encoded in your blood, you'll wake up from all these little holy days that they got going on. You'll be able to see past and see through all the spells that they got going on. They tell you they're poisoning the meats, and you're going to take and put it on some charcoal and eat the smoke and the fumes from the fuel. Would you take that fuel and put it on your salad, like wash your salad and stuff with it and then go ahead and eat it? I'm just saying. And all for something or memorial that signifies slavery. Because if you're honoring and respecting and thinking of in love and light about those who have transitioned in your life, no matter where they served their walk in this on this realm, you're going to do that every day. And you're not going to need a man or a document to tell you how and when. As long as the government gives you a day, and I'm not just doing this. I used to make plenty overtime and time and a half when holidays come around. Yeah, I'm going to work because I don't celebrate these days. This is 2010, 2009. This ain't something I'm just coming up with. My family know it. But anyways, that's enough of this. Because I just feel some type of way. National Maritime Day to commemorate the first transatlantic slave ship in 1819 by the SS Savannah. By this resolution, the Congress has authorized and requested the president to issue annually a proclamation calling for its appropriate observance. I also request that all ships sailing under the American flag dress ship on that day. Now, therefore, I, stinking penny loafer Biden ballot or President of the United States, declare this day a National Maritime Day. That's what your Memorial Day is all about. So, happy celebration to that. Now, let me go ahead and go back to what I was talking about earlier with me memorializing Miss Rump out of Fort Valley when she gave me this. I accepted this. I didn't accept being an heir to all the wealth that she was leaving. I wouldn't accept that, but I accepted this handkerchief. And as I read this handkerchief, so let me show you what the translation of the words on here. I went to Google Translate to translate this. This is the words that is on this handkerchief. And it may be just to some people, well, it's just a design. And that's what they put on as a design. But for me, I always see more into, let's hear the profiles and extensive repertoire of signs. That's what's written on this handkerchief. Now, how long I had this handkerchief? When did she transition? 20. I don't want to be wrong. 2013. 2013. I'll be wrong. It'd be sad if her son came over here and saw that. I couldn't remember the year. But I've had this for a while. It's been way over 10 years. And that's that word here. Here's the translation. Can you hear it? Wait, I got it muted. Let me play it one more time.
Profili esatti, repertorio di segni.
Profiles and extensive repertoire of signs. So then I also saw some other words on here. So there's a company, whatever the company's name is. I don't want to go into that one just yet because it's going to take me down a rabbit hole that I'm only here on this one temporarily. The name on here took me to this site. Cell position with human pluripotent stem cell colonies determines apical specialization via an actin cytoskeleton based mechanism. That's what's on this handkerchief. That's what's on this handkerchief. I can't make this up. Okay, so let me read a little bit of that, and then I'm going to take a little break, and then I'm going to go into Biblia Innocentium. All right. Let's go back, share the screen. And I need to change these glasses. It's a little too strong. I mean, the blur. I'm reading beyond the blur, y'all. Reading beyond the blur. Okay. Here we go. So let me see what this handkerchief means. Human pluripotent stem cells grow as colonies with epithelial, back to the skin, epithelial-like features, including cell polarity and position dependent features that contribute to symmetry breaking during development. Our study provides evidence of the HPSC colonies exhibit position dependent differences in apical structures and functions. With this apical difference, edge cells are provincially labeled with amphibian amphipathic dyes, which enable separation of edge and center cells by fluorescence activated cell sorting. Transcriptome comparison between center and edge cells show differential expression of genes related to apicobasal polarization, cell migration, and endocytosis. Accordingly, different kinematics, the kinematics and mechanical dynamics were found between center and edge cells. The perturbed actin dynamics disrupted the position-dependent apical polarity. In addition, our dye labeling approach could be utilized to sort out certain cell population of differentiated micropattern colonies. In summary, the HPSC colonies have position-dependent differences in apical structures and properties, and actin dynamics appear to play an important role in the establishment of this position-dependent cell polarity. This is a copyright of the authors from 2021, but I had this handkerchief longer than that. And hold up. Does it say September? What month does it say? It said just 2021. Oh my goodness. From the National Library of Medicine. Isn't it interesting? I can't make this up, Dominic Ron. I can't make this up. This right here, this handkerchief is more than anything she could have offered and was offering me, and had paperwork there for me to sign on more than one occasion. Because I was only there to help her through her transition. That's all I was there for. To help her go in peace. That's all I was there for. That's all God had sent me there for, and I knew that. It would have been wrong for me to take any of all that she had worked for all the years of her life. But when she handed me this And the fact that I didn't get rid of it, and today it is strangely, interestingly connected. Huh? Like I said, I only pulled it out to make it a part of my costume today. I said, oh, let me wear me a little mask. That's what I was going to do. And then I decided to read it. I'm not materialistic and into name brands and clothes like that. So I can get a piece of clothes and it have writing on it. If I don't see like something that stands out, like it say God or something, it may not have that much of, but if I see like things like this, I just be like, oh, okay, and wear it. All right. Now on to, I'm going to take a little couple of minutes, go get me some little aloe drink. I think I want aloe. Oh, if by chance anything happened, when I went to open up my cashews, the little lid, the seal was already broken. Now, me, I'm just taking my chance, right? I haven't had anything to eat today except for a handful of cashews. Not long after I ate the cashews, I started feeling a little, like, I don't want to say woozy, but it might just been like one of them little hypochondriac type scenes, even though I wasn't thinking like that. Because if anything, if I was paranoid and I saw that the seal was a little broken, I just wouldn't eat it, period, if I lived in paranoia. But I just decided, I said, things like that happen in transition of. So I took a little handful, and then not long after that, while I was in the bathroom getting ready and doing my hair and stuff, I started feeling a little certain type of way. So for anybody, if anything happens, make sure check my blood work and know I have abstained from all man-made chemical, pharmaceutical induced type chemicals. And I definitely don't take any type of street drugs, marijuana, no married time, none of that. So check my blood work. If anything happens, because my chest is a little heavy, I'm having a little pain, I am dealing with the numbness, but that's a reoccurring usual thing. But it's just a little stronger today than usual. All of this is numb. But see, I'm so used to it. But go ahead, get the little container with and take the fingerprints, lift the fingerprints off the lid, and make sure you check that. And make sure you ask them to check my blood work. My blood work should be clean. Should be no type of man-made chemicals in my system. So if anything come up and any kind of man-made chemicals in my system, y'all have a whole investigation, and that investigation comes from a Walmart order. Okay? All right. I'm just saying, just in case. Because the lid, I'm not saying it's Walmart employees or nothing. Don't they work for the government? I'm not talking about them. It could have been any being. Y'all done seen that stuff that happened on the news. People injecting stuff in fruits and stuff like that. Again, I don't think too much of it. But just in case. Like I said, I ain't scared. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to eat some more cashews. Huh? Let me go ahead. The best use of the handkerchief is to carry the scent of a lover. Really? We grew up with handkerchiefs, and all I knew handkerchiefs for was when it was time for church, Don McRon. As a little girl, my grandmother made handkerchiefs. My mother made handkerchiefs. And we would take, it seemed wrong for us to go to church without a handkerchief in our gloves. When I got a certain age, I was tired of the gloves and the stockings. But we had to dress a certain way. We definitely, my sister took, I don't know if she's still with the stockings, but I was so glad when stockings, I don't have to wear stockings to please God. But my grandmother, and she would make sure buy extra pairs, because if she putting on her stockings with her long nails and get a run in her stockings, she gonna change them stockings. But that's the one thing, three things that was part of our costume for service when I was growing up. Handkerchief, gloves, stockings, and with my mother, fan. My mother and my grandmother, fans and hats. And my mother was so into her hats. So I didn't know handkerchief was a way to carry the scent of a lover. Wow. I learned something new today. Thank you, Don McGraw, for that knowledge. And see, for every person, there's something different into things like this. I don't know what Miss Rump, one of the cornerstones of Fort Valley in the Department of Education, I don't know what she used this handkerchief for. If she wore it around her neck as a style, I've seen people wear, the handkerchiefs like this. Some places the handkerchief is used, as a mask, I guess. But my experience with handkerchiefs, and my grandmother had got so good at making her handkerchiefs that she started selling them also. She sold conch dinners and fish dinners and coconut candy, homemade coconut candy. So where she'd break up the coconuts and cut the coconuts. And then she started selling handkerchiefs. And my mother, when we would go downtown on a weekend, like when it came to our school shopping, there was a budget for that. So we would go to like Tropical Park Flea Market and, Zayre's clearance. I don't know who all remembers Zayre's, wherever she can budget on. When my grandmother from New York, my father's stepmother, which his father was the reverend at the Baldwin Street Church in New York. His father was the pastor of that church. And then my uncle, who just transitioned not too long ago, his brother, Preston, became the pastor of that Baldwin Street Church in New York. That was my stepfather's part of his inheritance also. But he didn't go to church. He stopped going. He didn't go to church. He didn't follow that. Anyways, how did I get to that? Oh, when she would come and take us shopping, it would be to Macy's and stuff like that. And my mother learned how to go through the like Bloomingdale's and Macy's clearance sections and stuff for school and all that. But when it came to church, for her and my grandmother, they wore the best. My father made sure that my mother was wearing the best. And her hats, when she would take us downtown, And she'd find that perfect handkerchief to go with her perfect hat and her Mary Jane shoes, which was one of her perfect dancing shoes. I'm serious. I can't make this up. I can't miss it. And that was us being raised in the projects. Being raised in the projects. And doing all that for like little churches like this right here behind me. This Coconut Grove church right here. Now, I didn't go to this one as a teenager. I went to this one after marrying my first husband, middle name Jesus. All right. So let me go ahead and play that music and then come on back. I'm going to come on back and read a little bit out of my Biblia Innocentium. I'm enjoying that one. I'm enjoying it. See if I can keep steady with this and read it all the way to the end. Y'all know how I start something and then, I got so many different types of subjects and books and stuff within my stream out of those 1,500 videos, 1,500 something odd videos, and none of them have been consistent all the way to the end. I'll start a book and then go on to something else. I start on a Federal Register bill and go to something else. And I'm like that, spontaneous. The spawn. Oh, goodness. I shouldn't have put that in on my name. All right, I'll be back. Let me go get my cashews.
Who has been created to a true knowledge according to the image of the one who created him. The people who walk in darkness will see a great light. Those who live in a dark land, the light will shine on them. My mind is light. I am in all ways reflecting His sight. In all ways I acknowledge no knowledge, no college. Ooh, God, you promised that great day will come. Yes, God, you promised that I will see my son. You promised that He is by your side. And nothing can separate this love inside. No masters, no doctors can prescribe ways in my calling. Only His ways, oh, ancient of days can correct. He reflects the path I acknowledge. God's mind is my mind is light. I am in all ways reflecting His sight. In all ways I acknowledge no knowledge, no college. Ooh, God, you promised that great day will come. Yes, God, you promised that I will see my son. You promised that He is by your side. And nothing can separate this love inside. No masters, no doctors can prescribe ways in my callings. Only His ways, oh, ancient of days can correct. He reflects the path I acknowledge. And nothing can separate. my callings. Only his ways are ancient of days can correct. He reflects the path I acknowledge. Ooh, God, you promised that great day will come. Yes, God, you promised that I will see my son. You promised that he is by your side, and nothing can separate this love inside. No masters, no doctors can prescribe ways in my callings. Only his ways, oh, from a new self who has been created to a true knowledge according to the image of the one who created him. The people who walk in darkness will see a great light.
It's right here, right? That's right.
Live in a dark land, the light will shine on them.
All right, here we go.
God's promise.
Yes, Don McRon, that's what my father, when they kicked him out of the church because he was so, they like to use the word argumentative. With his military mind, he don't let him be in a Bible study. He gonna ask all kind of questions and the stuff that he was teaching me and us. But I decided not to go with the what you call it. I decided to go with the cherries and the cashews. But he would point at us, and then he said, church is in you. The church, the temple, you are the temple. That's what the Bible says. And what the discipline of Jesus was about. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I'm still going, look, I'm going to eat my cashews. I'm not paranoid. But like I said, just in case, I left a message on this live. I should put the date on it. Make sure let me change and make sure I edit and put, what's today's date? What's today's date? Is it the 22nd? I think it's the 22nd. If not, I'll change it later. Let me just put it on here. And I'm going to put cashews. Cashews in the message. There we go. There we go. Oh, it says it's scheduled for the future. Nah, they let me change it any other time. They let me change it any other time. Now they don't want to let me change it. The stream, hold up. Let me see if the stream is already live. You cannot edit and change it. All right, that's all right. It's okay. Y'all don't have to let me edit and change it. I'm going to change it later. But see, just for right now, I'm going to eat the cherries. I'll get some cashews later. All right. Ready to read. I'm ready. Now, when I left off, no! Greater light! Greater light! When I left off yesterday, I was given my perspective about Abraham and Sarah and Esau, and I spoke a little bit about it today again. And even around here with Lot, which Lot was Abraham's brother. There's the three brothers, Abraham, Lot, and the other brother, and where Lot lived and his descendants and children was raised, they were Sodom and Gomorrah. And then they got wiped out. And in my perspective, the only place in history where on this realm where we see in history where man completely disappeared and was wiped out was in the Mayans, over there in the central portions of the Americas. That's the only place in history where you see man was totally like just disappeared. I mean, you have records of disasters all over, but it was not like a disappearance. Okay, and then I went into my perspective about where people have been teaching that Esau and Jacob is, you're either a descendant of Esau or you're a descendant of Jacob, and that's not true. You're either a descendant, if you believe in historical events where in the Bible, the only time that it is written that something is based on a true story is when Paul references Abraham and Sarah. And he says this is based on a true story. And between Abraham and Sarah, who were related, when they was looking for a child, a wife for their son, they went and looked for a wife from their relatives. He went to go get a cousin. Rebecca was the cousin. So incest, sodomy, and all that came from Abraham. Now, Abraham went with his slave, and then he set her free. So she was no longer a slave, but she was not the same kind. They were not related. They were not the same type of people. And when he came out of his land, that was just and Lot came out of his land, they went into a land that didn't belong to them, and they were not the same as the people that they were around. And Abraham knew that. And they had to pay just to be able to have their bodies buried in that city. Now, because of their ancestral ways, Esau and Jacob were a product of incest. But their father, again, it was something wrong with him. That's why Abraham used the excuse and said God told him, but you knew it was a lie. And you knew it was a lie because not only did he lie to the servants that was helping him go to take his son up to the mountain, take Isaac up to the mountain, he lied to Isaac. I know right now, if God just spoke to me directly and told me, like lit right all the way up the way Abraham lied and said, because Abraham didn't have no direct connection with God. God always used a medium for those who were from the land. And those who were light beings, he didn't use a medium. He talked to them and spoke to them directly. But confirmation of what I'm saying is just in the very first part where he said, it says, God proved Abraham and said to him, take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love. What's his name? Abraham said this and wrote this in his transcription. But if it was God who told him to do this, God would have came and told him to stop. So after he lied to the servants, and then after he lied to his son, because his son was like, well, Daddy, we got everything for a sacrifice, but where's the lamb? And then he said God himself will provide the lamb. So now he lied on God. If God had told him to do this, he would have told him exactly what God had said. He would have said, God, my son said that you are the lamb. That's how you know he was lying on God in his writing this to the people. Because based on all of historical documents, this is the only document that the Bible says is based on a true story. So now when he getting ready to do it, it had to be a medium, as always, to come and tell him, don't you dare lay a hand on that boy. It say don't lay a hand on a boy to do him harm. See, Abraham was ashamed because not only of his old age is something wrong with his son, but because he was sleeping with his cousin or his relative, that something was wrong with his son. And the proof that something was wrong with his son is that his son couldn't go like in all the other Bible events, a man go and find him a wife if it's a good thing. He couldn't go find him a wife. They had to go find a wife for him. It took so long for them to find him a wife that Sarah had done fell ill and died. By the time she had done died, they was already old. But it took them a long time to find him a wife. And when they finally got a cousin to say, well, she'll come, when she saw him walking around the place he was trying to have a direct connection with God, probably. I feel sorry for Isaac. Now, he probably was trying to have a direct connection with God because he kept going to the place where the slave woman, where God spoke to her when he set her free and told her to go back. He spoke to her directly. So he kept going to that well. So when Rebecca pulls up and she see him, she like, who is that? And that's like, yeah, that's your husband. That's your cousin. Oh, she covered up her face real quick. And you know that was her covering up her face for shame, because she was riding with a man, and if it was part of their, tradition as a woman to keep her face covered, her face would have been covered while she was riding to go meet her husband. Right or wrong? I'm just saying. Then after that, now remember how you know what type of beings came from the slave woman who was set free is the fact that Hagar's son became an archer. He held bows and arrows. Sarah was so nasty. Not only was she Abraham's cousin, not only was she hateful, not only was she a jealous type being, but she was so hateful. She sent, what's her name, out there to die. It wouldn't have been for Abraham if they wouldn't have had a little bit of water. The only reason why Hagar went back is because God talked to her directly and told her to go back and let her know, you free right now, But I need you to go back, because your children, your descendants, is going to be the one that raised the nation. That's written. It's written in the word the same way it is written here in Biblia Innocentium. So again, for right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding, know that there is no way you are a product. There's two different type of beings before the flood and then after the flood. And yes, Father Abraham had many sons, but the ones that wear a fit like Juju are the ones that came from Abraham and Sarah. They came from Abraham, Sarah, Esau, and Jacob. That's why when Jesus was giving the blueprint and saying, look, I know the true history, especially with this being based on a true story. If it's based on a true story, my God is God over Abraham, Sarah, and Jacob, Isaac, and all your daddies who you claim. But my mama and my bloodline, we come from Hagar. We didn't come from incest and all that. We didn't come from that. Abraham didn't have to have and be incestful the way that they were. He tried to live right. He did. And it shows. He tried to have a connection with God, but he was still a little off. There's just something off about him. And what made the descendant in their line even a little bit more off is because Sarah, he was related to his wife. That's why they couldn't have no children. It's not that she couldn't bear children. It's because they was related. They was too close, because they might have been brothers and sisters. So then when they finally did have Isaac, something was wrong with Isaac. And it was only because the same way the angels didn't like what was going on, they keep saying God is the one that destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. It was not God, it was the angels. The Bible says that. It's the angels that did. The angels said, we trying to live right. We don't know what y'all got going on. But they always turn around and say it's the Nephilims was nasty and dirty and it came down. The Bible specifically says that the giants was marrying the women. But they continuously flip the script and take the translations and take them out of a context that does not, it goes against what is being said. Everything that descended from Abraham on his sides of relationship with ancestral relationships didn't turn out right. And again, when Jesus starts speaking and saying, okay, this is historical truth, and we talking about DNA and we talking about family lines, and we saying how the story go. If y'all gonna tell the story, tell it right. And they was like, look, he telling the story, and if they know ever realize what the truth is, now we got to kill him. I'm saying. Sarah fell ill and died. And then they had to go and find a place to bury her. They had to ask for it. They paid for it. They paid 400 pieces of silver in good money. It says it was good money to bury in the land. When he went and asked, can he bury? He said, look, I know I'm a stranger in this land. I know I'm different than y'all. I'm too old to be going to try to travel to find her own burial place and all that. Can we please? We will pay. And that's how that went down. So over here on this land, they keep digging up everything. If they can dig up the descendants, the very first that was out of place, but because he and she is buried together. And when they do the DNA out of the bone marrow or that, like they always take it, talking about they pull up a DNA. All right, let me see. The camels at the well, I read that. This is me catching up with what I read, y'all, yesterday. As the words were in his mouth, a beautiful girl came from the town gate. This is where they went and found a wife for Isaac. They said, go to our cousins and go get a wife because we need to get a wife before his mama died. She want to see him married. They persuaded her real good. They was like, what? They was like, yep. Your cousin, they rich. They got money. And they need you to come on and marry marry your cousin. Sarah born him a son and in his old age, who would inherit all he had. They let her know, say he gonna own everything. If you just come on and get with him, you ain't gotta worry about a thing. And she was like, oh, I ain't gotta wait. They was like, we'll be back in 7 days. She was like, no, I ain't gotta wait. I want to go now, huh? This is based on a true story now. Now, when they pulled up, Rebecca was like, Isaac had gone out by the well of the sight of the living one, where he was trying to talk to God. He walked in the field alone because he was mourning. His mama had just died. Like, Lord God, what am I going to do? The only person loved me was my mama. Huh? She the only one that loved me. And when he saw the line of camels coming back, Rebecca asked Eliza of Damascus, she was like, well, what man is this? You know, when they ask, what man is this? It's like saying, what the? You know, like that. What kind of man is this? Not like, who's that man? Oh my goodness. It's like, what man is this that walks in the field? And he was like, yep, go ahead. Look, it's your master's son. That's your husband. She alighted from her camel and covered her face with a veil. It doesn't say she got off the camel and jumped and ran and say, honey, huh? It just said she covered her face. So she became Isaac's wife, and he loved her and comforted him. It was comfort for his mother's death, because if it wasn't for his mama's mama, it wasn't for his mama. And if his daddy didn't do that, he would have never had a wife. Because where they was living and the beings they was amongst did not find him to be one to want to be married to. So like I always say, that's how you get the two sets of beings that come out of Canaan. He was living in Canaan because he didn't have a land of his own. And when he got buried in Canaan, he had to pay for it. Because if it was, think about it, as rich as they say he was and all that he owned, if he had owned any parts of the land, would he have had to pay for his own burial for his wife? Think again. If Father Abraham owned any parts of the land that he was on, when he went to the people, he wouldn't have said, look, I know I'm a stranger in your land. I need a place to bury my wife. I'll pay you. I'm going to pay you in good money. If he owned all that they said he did, why would he have had to pay? Huh? Okay. Okay, I went over the mess of the pottage. And you can read that story for yourself. I may come back and go over it again with Esau and Jacob, but this is how I let you know. Esau and Jacob both were a product of incest. Period. Point blank, period. You are either a descendant of Hagar, the free slave, or you're a descendant of Sarah. Anger of Esau, Jacob's ladder. Okay, that's where I'm gonna where I ended, and that's where I'm gonna start. Jacob traveled all day. Wait a minute. There's something about Rebecca that I didn't read. Let me see. What is this? Okay, going to Rebecca and her other cousin. Okay. Then Esau, who once had cared so little about his birthday, that this is where the anger of Esau is where I ended. Then Esau, who once cared so little about his birthright, hated Jacob for having stolen the blessing of the firstborn from him, and thought with himself, when my father is dead, and that will not be long, I will kill Jacob. Now, see there? That double-mindedness, because again, Esau, all them years didn't care nothing about his birthright. They're like, I don't care about that. That don't mean nothing to me. But also remember, Esau and Jacob was products of incest. And Rebecca, because she was the cousin, remember, she's not only the cousin of Abraham and Sarah, she's the cousin of Isaac. Now, all of a sudden, Esau thinking murder. Rebecca saw that this was in his mind and determined that Jacob must go away out of danger till Esau's anger was spent and he had forgotten his wrong. And then she thought with herself, I will send and fetch him back again. Now Esau had married one of the daughters of Heth from among the people of the land. Now, now this is where Esau went out and intermingled with the other kind, the light beings, the ones that were not out of incest and all that. That's where he go and he intermingle with them. So obviously somebody had some type of pity or whatever on Esau. However that happened, I don't know. Obviously, it could have been any type of way, because he left his land with hatred. He could have went and found him somebody and raped him. He left angry. He left with hatred in his heart. So ain't no telling. They leave out that part of the story. But however it happened, he married among the people of the land. And this was a grief of mine for both Isaac and Rebekah. So now Isaac and Rebekah felt some type of way, because he was supposed to keep it in the family. So she complained to Isaac that she was weary of her life because of daughters of Heth. She didn't want to be mingled up with light beings, with the Canaanites. They on the land of the Canaanites. Remember, the ones that was living righteously and everything, and that came out of that, they relatives was the one that killed off Sodom and Gomorrah, her uncle them. That's why it was war against them. Even though they lived among the land, they felt some type of way. They was living incessantly. Remember, the angels had then took on another form, because at one point the angels, you could definitely tell the difference. But by the time after the flood, the angels had decided to take on a form where now they were wearing skin. Because when they came to Lot, Lot couldn't tell that they were angels at all. So they didn't feel no type of way because they was different. They felt some type of way because, first off, they was out of place, living in a land that didn't belong to them in the first place. Second, all of the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, that was her relatives, her uncles, Lot, her daddy, her uncle, and all her other uncles kept getting destroyed because of their ancestral, hateful, and all them type ways. So whatever happened to Esau done went off, maybe probably changed his ways. And Rebekah wasn't fine with that. She didn't want him to kill his brother, but she also, I guess, would prefer that he be home than to be amongst righteousness. So she complained to Isaac that she was weary for her life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob were to marry another of them, she said, it would break my heart. So not only was the descendants of Abraham and Sarah, this is racism. It was good enough for them to be on their land, but it wasn't good enough for them to marry them. So I guess Bible stories, this is definitely signs of the racism that began and ran through the line. Well, Sarah was racist. Definitely. Now he out there being holy and righteous. He actually marrying into the family. And she said, if he marry another one, it's going to break my heart. So let us send him to Haran, to our kindred across the river. There she is. Look, he need to be keeping it in the family, that he may take a wife there among his own people, as I was bought to be your wife long ago. See, she said, look, remember, I'm your cousin and I came to marry you. So now you got to do this for me. We got to get him to get with his own kind. Isaac agreed, and they sent Jacob away quietly, going on foot alone to the house of his uncle Haran. But Rebekah never saw him again, and she died before he came back. Jacob's ladder. Jacob traveled all day till the sun had set and grew dark. Then there was no place of shelter near. He wrapped himself in his cloak and lay down in the field, putting on a stone under his head for a pillow, and so fell asleep under the open night. As he slept, he dreamed, and in his dream he saw a ladder set up with its foot on earth and its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of God went up and down on it. Above it, God himself stood, and in his dream, Jacob heard God say, "This land on which you lie shall be given to you and your children, you who shall be as many as the dust of the earth. And I myself will be there with you and keep you all places where you go. And in the end, I will bring you back to rest in this land." Then Jacob woke up out of his sleep and said to himself, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I knew it not." And he saw the darkness and the stars and was afraid and said, "How dreadful is this place?" Now, here, first off, when people talk about God promised Jacob, when God made promises to people that were sure and real, they were wide awake. So if I come to people today and say, "God showed me in a dream," you know how people look at you, right? They either consider it prophecy or they say, "Okay, it was just a dream. It was only a dream." So how come things that Jacob saw wide awake, sleep, in his dream could be held as bond, but things that John saw wide awake is held as unrealistic? First off, we already know Jacob and Esau them had mental health problems. They was a little on the slow side. So he had a dream, and that's held bond to this day. That's why Biden them be saying it's a dream that we hold to come true. That's why half of the wars are going on because they're based on having a dream, I guess. These cherries good. They're not too tame and they're not too sweet. They're just right. So in his dream, God didn't even speak to him directly. But that's okay. "This land on which you lie shall be given to you and your children, who shall be as many as the dust of the earth. And I myself will be with you and keep you in all places where you go. And in the end, I will bring you back to the rest of the land." Then Jacob woke up out of his sleep and said to himself, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I knew it not." And he saw darkness and the stars and was afraid. See, he gonna wake up out of his sleep back into reality and saw the stars. Before he went to sleep, he wasn't scared of the stars in the darkness. But all of a sudden, he's scared of the stars in the darkness when he wake up. How dreadful is this place? And then he said, "How dreadful is the place?" You mean the same place where God said is going to be a land for him and his children? How dreadful is this place? This is none other but the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. He woke up out of the dream, supposed to be happy. And then when he realized he was asleep, but then when he woke up, he going to call the place that God done promised for him and his children dreadful. And the fact that God was even there, dreadful. This is none other but the house of God. He gonna call the house of God dreadful? Early with dawn he rose, and taking the stone that his head was laid on, he set it up at the end for a pillar, for a memorial. Here go the Memorial Day, based on a dream and some psychosis, some demo crazy. He set a pillar for a memorial and made a vow that if God kept him safely and gave him bread and clothing and brought him back to at last in peace to his home, that the stone would be a place of God's house. So the place of Jacob's dream was afterwards called Bethel, the house of God. Bethel was based on a dream. And that is able to be held bond paperwork in history over and over and over again, from a line of ancestral, racist, hated beings. But when people wide awake, having visions, speaking directly to God, through God and angels and stuff, that's a problem. That's unrealistic. That's just New Testament talk. Okay. The fair shepherdess. Jacob went on his journey and crossed the river and came at last to the land of the people of the east. Now, this is where Jacob comes across. They leave the Americas. Remember, they leave the Americas. Remember, Abraham and Sarah is buried over here somewhere. They was over here with those who were already on this land. When they got over here, they was already out of place. They was a stranger to the land. But they seed spread all over the place. The Mayans had to be snatched up because of their ancestfulness and all that they had going on. Jacob they made a promise that Jacob would come back over here. I'm not making this up. This is how the story goes. Read it for yourself. Now here, Jacob, God had already promised Hagar the promise that he gave her in real time. He spoke to her out loud. She wasn't in no dream. She wasn't under no hallucination. But Jacob was going back and forth through some type of psychological breakdown or whatever it is that he had going on. Now, he had left from over here and traveled to the east. Now, let's continue. Jacob went on his journey and crossed the river and came at last to the land of the people of the east. There he saw a well in the field covered with great stone and 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. So a great stone, meaning now he's over where they have the wear-fit like jujus over there, the different pyramids and things like that. That stuff had already existed on the other side. Also, he went up to the shepherds and gave them greeting, asking whence they were, and if they knew Laban, the son of Nahor. They answered, we are shepherds of Haran, and we know Laban. He is well, and see, there is his daughter Rachel. So now he gone to his other cousins on the other side, his other brother. There's Rachel coming with her flock of sheep. Jacob said, lo, it is yet high day, and it is not time to fold the cattle. Water your sheep and go and feed them. They answered, "We are only waiting for Rachel and her flock. And when she comes, we may roll a stone from the well's mouth and water all the flocks together and drive them in the field." When that Rachel, the fair shepherdess, came up leading her flock, and Jacob kissed her immediately, like, dang, just like that. And Jacob kissed her and lifted up his voice and wept and told her that he was her cousin, Rebekah's son. Rachel ran home and told her father Laban, who came out to embrace Jacob and brought him. And when Jacob told all his story, he lived there and kept Laban's flocks in the land of the east. So there they go. He left and went to his other uncle and Abraham's other brother's descendants. Okay. And he went over there and got his cousin. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm. Mm. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Woo. Rachel ran home and told her father Laban, who came out and embraced Jacob and brought him in. And when Jacob told all his story, he lived there and kept Laban's flock in the land of the east. After 9 months' time, Laban said to Jacob, "You shall not serve me for nothing, though you are my kinsman." So Jacob went over there. He was like, "Look, I'm good, just glad to be here, cousin. Huh? I'm glad to be here because my brother want to kill me anyway. I'll work for free." He said, "Tell me, what shall your wages be?" Now Laban had 2 daughters, Leah and Rachel, but Rachel was the younger and the fairer of the 2. Jacob loved her. Jacob loved her. Therefore he said to Laban, "I will serve you for 7 years for your daughter." So he stayed with Laban and served him for 7 years. And they seemed to him but a few days, for he loved the love he had for Rachel. He loved his cousin so much that them little years, it went by with no time. And when the 7 years were finished, a feast was made to all the people of the place. And at night, Laban brought in the bride to Jacob and covered her with a veil. That the next morning by daylight, Jacob found that it was Leah, the elder sister. He was like, "I don't want that cousin," who had been given to him instead of his own fair maid Rachel. He went in anger to Laban, saying, "What is this?" And Laban said, "In our country, the younger sister is never given in marriage before the firstborn." He said, "If I would have known that, I wouldn't have stayed over here all this time. But if you would serve me another 7 years," see, they was shysty. Even amongst them being family incestful and all that, and happy to be sleeping with cousins and all that kind of stuff, they still was shysty to each other. "But if you will serve me another 7 years for Rachel, you may have her as well." Jacob could do nothing better. So he had both Laban's daughters to wife and kept the flock and the herd for 7 more years. At the end of the other 7 years, he wished to go back to his own country, but Laban begged him to stay and asked him to name his own wages, and he should have them for the flocks, the herds, which had been little before Jacob came, had increased into a multitude since they were in his keeping. Jacob agreed to stay, and for his hire, he chose to have all the speckled and spotted cattle and brown sheep and striped goat for his own. And so he served Laban 6 years more. But Jacob was so skillful a herdsman that his own sheep and cattle increased more than Laban's and were better and stronger than the others. So it remained, however, they divided them, so that at the end of the 6 years, Laban's sons complained, and Jacob had taken away all their wealth, and Laban himself was not so friendly to him as before. Therefore, Jacob had made a plan to be gone suddenly, and his wives took his side, saying, since our father gave us to you, we are become strangers here, and have no inheritance in our father's house. So now the two cousins is like, nah, we gonna go where you go. You the one with all the money. The flight from Haran. So now look, this chapter says the flight from Haran. You mean they got to take a flight? People will say, no, that means they ran. Nah, they had to take a flight from the east to come all the way back over. Okay. I told you, if you believe that they had the technology that they said they had, why can you not believe that they had cruise ships? Because, okay, they got wooden ships. I mean, ships now that are tons and tons of metal. And you don't believe that they had flight? And even though it's on the walls of pyramids and in caves and stuff, you don't believe that they had that type of technology, though. But you believe it today. You believe that Elon is sending rockets around the world. You believe that there's satellites in the sky, but you don't believe that technology with the God of the God that you serve existed just like it did. They took a flight from Haran. Let me highlight that. The time of sheep shearing came, and Laban was gone to see after some flocks, and fed 3 days journey off. Then Jacob, taking his opportunity, gathered all his goods, flocks, and cattle, and mounted his wives and children on camel, crossing the river, and set forth haste towards his own land. It says that they crossing the river. Crossing the river, set forth haste towards its own land. But Rachel, unknown to Jacob, had stolen Laban's gods and taken them away with her among the household of stuff. What? So Laban had gods. There they are. See, they didn't have strange gods over here on this side of the land. But over there in the east, they had strange gods and statues and all these different gods and stuff. So here, his cousin took some of her daddy's strange gods. You remember, that's why the angels killed off Sodom and Gomorrah. Made them disappear. It wasn't God. It was the angels that were living amongst the people that were living properly. Now here, on this side, on the west side, they didn't have strange gods and stuff. So amongst all that little other dirty and successful stuff that they got going on, here she goes sneaking some gods with her. But Rachel, unknown to Jacob, had stolen Laban's gods and taken them away with her among the household stuff. The third day afterward came to Laban at his sheep shearing, and Jacob was fled. He gathered his kinsmen and pursued him, and at end of the 7 days overtook them among the mountains and said, what is this that you have done, stealing away from me in unawareness, not telling me that I might kiss my daughters and send them away send you on your way with music and singing and mirth. So he's saying, I would have gladly celebrated y'all to leave. Why would you even leave like that? This is foolish thing to do. But that God warned me last night in a dream not to hurt you. You are helpless in my hand. So see, even though he was skillful, because of their incestfulness, it was something about him that, so he said, you would have been helpless for me to even kill you. And if you must needs be gone, why have you stolen my gods? Jacob answered, I was afraid you would not let your daughters go with me. What you mean? You married them. See, that's slow thinking. That's slow thinking. Because when he was trying to leave the first time, he didn't force him to stay. He said, look, I'll pay you to stay. And yeah, he might have got a little mad and jealous, but he also knew that his daughters was well taken care of. He said, I was afraid you would not let your daughters go with me, but I have stolen nothing of yours. I give you leave to search the camp for your kinsmen. Laban searched the tent but could not find nothing, for Rachel had hidden his gods under the saddle of the camel and sat on it. Look at her. So, even though Jacob was wealthy, he had a God over there. You know, he was something like a Stephen Hawkins. You can imagine him, maybe a Stephen Hawkins. And was able to make increase and leave there wealthy, more wealthy than everybody that was around. So he was blessed in some kind of way. And instead of the elder cousin, I don't know what she had going on. But Rachel, something had to not be right about her, that she couldn't go ask her daddy. She had to steal it. And then when her daddy come, then she gonna sit on it and hide or sit on it. For Rachel had hidden his gods under the saddle of the camel and sat on it. Then Jacob, in his turn, was angry and said to Laban, what's wrong? What have I done? Why have you pursued me so hotly? Now let your kinsmen judge between us. For 20 years I served you faithfully, 14 years for your daughters, and 6 for your cattle, and brought by day, and frost by night. You changed my wages 10 times, and now, had not rebuked you yesternight, you would have taken everything from me and sent me away empty. Then Laban said, let us make peace. So they piled up a great mound of stones for a memorial. There's another Memorial Day. The Memorial Day based on what? Incest, thievery. If they do it to their own, wouldn't they do it to the strangers? Huh? Thievery, incest, lies. So Laban was like, nah, look, let's just make up. Let's make a memorial. They swore to each other before God that neither of them would ever pass that mound to harm the other. So there's a bond between the East, some beings in the East, and the beings in the West, legally based on lies. They built a memorial, a commemoration, a Federal Register document that continues time after time again to be a memorial. Based on what? So, as many times as a certain entity claim war, they never going to go to war based on this memorial. They just going to pretend that they're going to war. Neither of them ever passed the mound to harm each other. Thereafter, they feasted early the next morning. Laban rose and kissed his daughters and blessed them and returned to his own land. The angel by the river. Jacob went on his way, sending messengers before him to Esau to ask his pardon. Now he coming back to his brother. He coming out back on the west side. And when he lay at Peniel by the ford. Where's the place you're gonna find ford? That word ford ain't gonna be on the east side. But anyways, by the ford of the river, he had then made it to the port and came back saying they had given Esau the message, and that for the answer he was coming himself to meet Jacob with 400 men at his back. This news filled Jacob with terror. He prayed to God, keep me now, O Lord, as thou hast kept me till now. For I am not worthy of the feast of the least of all the mercies for I'm not worthy of the least of all the mercies that thou hast shown me since I crossed this brook 20 years ago, with nothing but a staff in my hand. And then he chose the best of sheep, goats, cattle, camels, oxen, and asses, and sent them in separate droves with a space between each of them. When Esau met the first drove, he asked the herdsman whose it was and where it was going, and he was to answer, it is a present to my Lord for Esau from his servant Jacob. So now they brothers, but he's saying, look, on the first boat, I done bought the first set of is sheep. This for you. I'm your servant, brother. Then the second herdsman, when Esau met him, was to say the same. The rest in like a manner. For so he thought Esau might be pacified before he met him. So these separate droves crossed the river by the ford and went forward, each in order. And the rest of the camp followed. And late that night, he sent his wives and children across last of all. But he remained alone on the other side of the river. See you on the other side. And there an angel wrestled with him all night until the break of the day. See, this is where he having a mental breakdown. This is where he just had a mental breakdown. He was so scared and nervous and traumatized. And if the angel was wrestling, why he didn't want to let him go? At dawn, the angel said, let me go, for day breaks. But Jacob answered, I will not let you go except you bless me. So you mean to tell me Jacob was so weak that as old as Laban was, Laban wouldn't fight him. He said, you ain't even worth a fight. Like, I mean, you good on that, and why would I even fight you? You a helpless man. But now all of a sudden, in his dream, he had the strength to hold down an angel. He wasn't so afraid of Esau. He was afraid because Esau had been married into righteousness, remember? Remember? Esau had been married into righteousness. Remember? Let me go, for day breaks. But Jacob answered, I will not let you go except you bless me. Then the angel said to him, as a prince, you have had the power with God and with man and have prevailed. Where and on anywhere before he had this post-traumatic stress disorder did it say that he was a prince somewhere? He wasn't a prince, remember? He worked for Laban. And the reason why he snuck off is because he thought Laban was going to take all his property and his money that he had worked so hard for. If he was a prince, he wouldn't have had to run off and sneak off. That's Jacob making up stories, especially to keep the memorials by the stones from his dreams. At dawn, angel said, "Let me go for day breaks." And Jacob answered, "I will not let you go except you bless me." Then the angel said to him, "As a prince, you have had the power with God and with man and have prevailed." Remember, when he had the power with God, that was in his dream, and God never really talked to him. He just had a dream. "And your name henceforth shall be no longer Jacob, but Israel." There you go. This is the fit like juju. Get the story right, Prince of God. Through all what is based on a true story everywhere that I've read, I don't see not where once ever that he was a prince. Two, that these descendants, that they claim the most uprightness from were products of incest, cousinry, lies, deceit, memorials that had no true standing. This is not anti-Semitic. This is me reading out of the Old Testament. So this is where Israel got its name. And that's why you have people without really taking and study to show thyself approved, claiming that they come out of the line of Jacob, or claiming they come even from the line of Esau. Esau's DNA mixed up somewhere in there because he tried to live right. But ain't nothing wrong with it. Jesus came to help y'all relieve that. And to this day, they still, if you even mention Jesus, use a Semitic. Jesus left a blueprint of love and light to take away the disease or the diseases that lie within these names. Israel, Prince of God. Then Jacob said, "What is your own name?" And the angel answered, "Do not ask me my name, for it is a secret," and passed away. Now, don't when the angels come, they give their names. When God comes, if God comes and says, "I'm a God of gods," that's why I told you that even after this right here, that bloodline was created on the foundations of demonic worship. Because right here, when the angel gave Jacob, the angel never said who his name was. If it was Jesus, it would have said, I am that I am, of Lion of Judah. If it was Michael or Gabriel, but the lost one, before he entered over on this land, is the one that wrestled with him and his nightmares. Am I making this up? This is what the Bible says. The angel answered, "You better not ask me what my name is. This is a secret. Any place where there's a secret, God don't dwell in secret hiding places. Love and light cannot hide in a secret hiding place. And for it is a secret," and passed away. So then he disappeared. And at sunrise, Jacob crossed the ford of Penuel. So now he comes into the port and found that he went lame, where the angel had touched him on the hollow of his thigh as they wrestled by the night. See? Ain't no angels that was living right was finna be doing none of that. They was killing off Sodom and Gomorrah. He was afraid to even come to his brother because he know his brother had married into righteousness. Remember, Rachel was so offended that Esau went and did things properly and in the right way. And she went and sent Jacob over to go marry his cousin, who be claiming that's where they come from. You better study to show yourself approved under God, that you won't be ashamed when you rightly divide the word of truth. I sit and I've listened to Hebrew Israelites and people and stuff for years, and I said, I can't wait, God. You tell me when it's my time to get up here and start saying things, because I know to everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under the heaven. When that time has come, I am ready. I have studied to show myself approved unto you. Do not ask me my name, for it is a secret. And passed away, and the sun rose and crossed the ford, Tom Ford, of Penuel, and found that he went lame, where the angel had touched him on the hollow of his thigh as they wrestled by night. Jacob's homecoming. Then Jacob looked forward and saw Esau coming with his 400 men, and went on alone in front of the others to meet him, bowing down to the ground before him 7 times as he came near. But Esau ran and embraced Jacob and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they both wept. So Esau had some love in his heart, and then Jacob, because he was over in the east, learned to bow. You know, every time you see, y'all see them, the Asians, what they do, they bow. They bow. He bowed 7 times. But again, Esau was living under righteousness. So when he thought and was so scared and terrified that he let some secret angel, mess with him all night, Esau came and ran and kissed him, right? Then Esau asked, what is the meaning of all the droves I met on the way to find me grace in the sight of my Lord Jacob? And Esau answered, I have enough, my brother. I've been hanging out with the righteous. Let us go together and I will travel with you. But Jacob excused himself, saying, my Lord, you see, I have children and flocks with me, and I must not overdrive the flocks or tire the little children. Let me follow you softly at my own pace. So Esau, offering Jacob some of his men for guard, turned and went back home as he come. And then he was gone. Jacob followed slowly by little journeys. Now see, Jacob felt some type of way now. Because remember, the whole thing is Jacob had stole his birthright. Esau left angry, which was a good thing, and hung around with the righteous ones. And then, you know what it is when you have a brother or a sister or somebody that do you wrong, and then the whole time that you should be feeling some type of way and sad, and they mind when they looking for you, they would prefer that you try to bring harm and hurt to them. But then when you don't, it all kind of like just shock you. or shock them. Have you ever seen situations like that? Esau was at peace. He had peace of mind. He turned away and went back home. And when he was gone, Jacob followed slowly by little journeys. On his way, he came to Bethel, where he had a dream. There go another dream. He had a dream of a ladder. And there he built an altar. And God came down to him and blessed him and went up again to heaven. Again, this story written and documented, again, based on a dream. Huh? And now in this dream, he ain't he's a prince, and he named himself Israel. As they journeyed from Bethel, Rachel died near Bethlehem. Bethlehem over here on this side, y'all. And among the cornfields, leaving a newly born baby, the last of Jacob's children, who was called Benjamin. Those who want to be a Benjamite, either way you look at it, he was a descendant of incest. That ain't who you come from, but it's okay. And they buried her there by the wayside and set a pillar over her grave. So at last, Jacob came to his old father Isaac at Hebron. And not long afterwards, Isaac died, and his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. Now you remember, Isaac is the one who was ill-formed and married his cousin, and in turn sent them to marry their cousins. And Esau didn't marry a cousin because he was so mad at Jacob after Esau had been turned down his birthright. But it was a blessing for him because he went out and married out from not marrying into the cousin zone. Therefore, Esau and Jacob parted because they had so many cattle that one land had not pasture enough for both of them. Esau went south towards the desert and lived in the mountains, but Jacob and his 12 sons stayed at Hebron. So when they came in up of them north ports, that's where they stayed. Esau went south towards the desert. Ain't that something? Now, before I get into the coat of many colors and Jacob, I'm going to go ahead and end. I'm going to save this for either later or tomorrow. I definitely want to go into the coat of many colors. Greater light. I appreciate Dominic Ron. He's a rapist. Couldn't be further from it. He thinks he's Avalon. Somebody in here? Hey there, Antoine. Hey there, Mr. Smith. Is somebody else here? I'm not seeing anybody else in the chat but you. Who you talking to? Dominic Ron. He thinks he's Avalon. This guy is real. Who? Who's a real scumbag? He's a rapist. Couldn't be further from it. He thinks he's Avalon. Dominic Ron, I don't see anybody else in the chat. Somebody must be hidden. King Ellis. I see you, King Ellis. I see you, King Ellis. Greater light. And then I see you, Mr. Antoine Smith. No, there you are, greater light. I was reading, so when I'm on that screen, I can't really see the chat. But what I'll do next time is maybe have my phone over. The sequel to Excuse 19 will be them telling us to cover our eyes. They throw away their lame, and we expect them to govern us justly without even love for their own. How could they ever be considered royal or rightful? What are you talking about? Oh, that's what you got at all this story I was reading. Most of our ancestors were allowed an element of luck. Theirs aren't to this day. Theirs. They throw away their lame, and we expect them to govern us justly without even love for their own. How could they ever be considered royal or rightful? I wish I could see if it is somebody else you responding to. My goodness. Hindus and Vimanas, much like ancient Chinese, the church quills Christians daily. Please give blood, they say, but they don't normally ask so nicely. Who's a real scumbag? This guy's a real scumbag. Who? Who are you talking about? Oh, man, I missed it. Whoever it is, again, I can't see everybody in the chat. So somebody may be blocked, and I didn't do it. Like I said, it's something going on with my system that's kind of weird, but I'm not worried about it. It's a good sign to me, especially as I continue to read my analytics. To all the world and this generation, the Mayans had at least 4 centuries of highly advanced society before the collapse, then 800 years of feudalism. Okay. It would be nice for me to be reading along while I'm reading. Like I should have had my phone up. Jacob, you said, oh, he was referring to Jacob. The Jacobsons. The Jacobsons. The Jacobsons, Dr. Jacobson. Where art thou, you Jacobsons? Huh? Let's mesh all the dimensions together and bring it on down. Send it on down. Send your rain down. I'm going to go and make me mushroom burger. You know, that's why I take my portobello and let that be the meat. I think I'm put some pickles, chunks of onions. Now I'm sitting here eating these cherries. Should I keep these seeds? Let's see. Look. I should keep my cherry seeds, huh? Yeah, I'm going to keep my cherry seeds. How do I... Where's Can of Dummy when you need them? No, do you know how to grow cherry seeds? I'm going to look it up. I'm going to go on YouTube and see if I can sprout these seeds. That's going to be my project for the week. Well, tomorrow or later on, I got training. But you know what? The lady said I'm going to love this. Because it's right down my alley, huh? It's right down my alley. Hey! Woo! I only eat hyper intelligent mushrooms personally. I have never done shrooms. ever. Any type of thing that was hallucinogenic that I know that they say is hallucinogenic, I stay away from it. The way my mind is. Never popped any of them iffy pills and mollies and all that stuff. Never did none of that. I'm already, my mind already, I never done, never. I had promised a few years back, I was like, ooh, and I celebrate bringing in the holy days that I have created. And I had told my daughter, I said, yeah, this year I want to try it. I said, I'm going to try just a little piece of something. And then I kept listening to people and their experiences, and I backed off. I changed my mind. Ain't no way. But like I said, I'm going to change the title to this one, because when I got my cashews, the lid was lifted. And I haven't been on any type of chemicals, nothing. No man-made chemicals. Nothing. So if anything happened in our transition, I already got a message in this live right here. Check my blood work. Check the fingerprints on the lid of my cashews. And do a full-blown investigation. I'm gonna be all right. I ain't went back into the cashews. That's what I got with these cherries, but I'm hungry now. That's all I had all day, like a handful of cashews and some cherries. Now I'm ready to eat. I'm ready to eat. You know, I'm a big girl. I love to eat. Greater light. I'm getting off of here. God's promise. Thank you for being over here. No. Antoine, Mr. Smith. Who else is in the chat that I couldn't see? Don McRon, with all of your educational purposes. Greater light. Let's see. Do I want to end with God's promise? Do my pass me by? No, nature of our God. That's what I want. I don't even have to play that. I can just shut it up.
Savior of humanity from sin, death, Redeemer of our souls from the consequences of sin. This is the nature of God, creator of the universe and all things in it, shepherd of his people, guiding and protecting, almighty, powerful and mighty over all things. Father of all, loving and caring, sovereign Lord, authority over all things. Savior of humanity from sin and death, Redeemer of our souls from the consequences of sin. This is the nature of God, creator of the universe and all things in it, shepherd of his people, guiding and protecting, almighty, powerful and mighty over all things. Holy One, pure and righteous, rock of our salvation, strength and stability, Alpha and Omega, beginning and end, eternal nature forever and ever. This is the nature of God, creator of the universe and all things in it, shepherd of his people, guiding and protecting, almighty, powerful and mighty over all things. This is the nature of God, the one who loves us and cares for us. This is the nature of God, creator of the universe and all things in it, shepherd of his people, guiding and protecting, almighty, powerful and mighty over all things. This is the nature of God, the one who loves us and cares for us, the one who guides us and protects us, the one who saves us and redeems us.
Express your nature through your creations. Oh, nature. Oh, God. Creator